So we're talking today about headaches, jaw pain, migraines, teeth clenching and grinding, and the relationship to stress. So you've probably worked out already that there is a relationship between these things, and you've probably noticed in your own life that pattern of stress, anxiety, difficult times in our lives, even just difficult days or difficult hours through those days, creating a flare up and an increase in symptoms. So we're just going to talk about a little bit about why that is, so that once we actually have this understanding of why that is, it helps our brains to actually accept that this is true, and then we can think about change from there. So if we haven't met, my name is Ellie Lindsay and I'm a massage therapist. I specialise in treating headaches and jaw pain, both in my clinic and online as well. So there's a lot of evidence around stress and chronic pain. And how it seems to be is that it manifests in different places and different people. So you could be somebody that suffers with a lot of back pain, and when you get stressed, the back pain increases. Or you could be somebody like you likely are, if you're watching this video, that suffers with a lot of jaw symptoms and headaches. And as soon as we encounter stress or difficult times, it's like bang, that pain is worse, or that perhaps that pain was non-existent and then it's back. So the evidence around stress and chronic pain, because chronic pain is what we're talking about here, is huge. There's huge links between the two. So firstly, let's think about the muscles involved in chronic pain. So I've spoken a lot in the past about how when we have trigger points and adhesions and knots basically in muscles, this refers pain into the head and causes a lot of headaches and jaw symptoms as well. So if we are stressed, we hold our bodies differently. And there have been studies to show that people living with depression, for example, they have a lot more of these trigger points in their body compared to the people that are not living with that condition. So the more that we experience stress, the more likely we are to have problems in our muscle structures through holding patterns. And there's also been some evidence that I read which was saying that around sort of trigger points in muscles, they've actually found that the stress hormones actually there. So there's some kind of suggestion there, some sort of weak link so far, that the actual release of the stress hormones is actually causing those trigger points and knots and things like that to develop in muscles. So that's one reason why stress really increases our experience of pain, is that the muscle tension that we hold totally changes. We go into fight or flight. We're always on, our body is on guard. It's, our shoulders are up, our muscles are tense because our body thinks that we need to run away or we need to fight, or perhaps they need to be tense and frozen if we need to freeze. So we hold ourselves a lot differently when we are stressed. The second main reason is that when the body is in fight or flight, so when it is basically under stress, and most of us are sort of chronically stuck in that condition of not being able to navigate between fight and flight and rest and digest, then the brain is on hyper alert for danger. So it will actually, signals that are coming into the brain that it feels are perhaps normally it would find quite neutral if we were in rest and digest, instead of those signals being interpreted as neutral, they're interpreted as pain and something to be aware of and a problem that needs to be solved. So when we are stressed, it is much more likely that the brain will interpret the messages from the body as being pain, whereas if we were not stressed, those messages may well be interpreted as neutral, no pain and no happiness, or just straight in the middle, nothing to report here, basically. And then the third reason why stress causes us so much pain and really makes us feel that we are in a lot more pain than perhaps we wouldn't be if we weren't feeling so stressed, is that it comes down to fight or flight again. So when we're stuck in that fight or flight state, then the body actually feels quite unsafe, and it wants to alarm us to the fact that it feels unsafe. So often when we're in rest and digest, we need to feel a safety around our body. So we need to feel like there's no threats going on. And our brains are quite old in origin, and parts of the brain date back to the time where there could have been a lion at the door, or like death is about to meet us, and we need to protect our families and we need to protect ourselves. And our brain sometimes doesn't realise that we've come out of that into modern times now. It's quite slow to adapt, and perhaps it will never adapt to that. So we need to actually encourage our brain to feel safe and to not keep screaming at us about these signals. So the way that we can do that is to really incorporate self-care into our daily lives. And self-care doesn't necessarily mean going for a spa day or having your nails done or that kind of thing, but just simply creating a space where your body feels safe and uninterrupted and able to just fully relax. And perhaps it might need some prompts to do that. So I find a hot water bottle really helpful for sort of slipping into that rest and digest state, because it just sends my nervous system into a relaxation mode. It might be some gentle meditation can help, especially the type that you can do just laying down and feeling warm and protected, and that someone's not about to burst into the room at any moment. And the third way that we can think about that is through sort of therapy with a therapist, in terms of learning things like CBT, or ways of actually processing things that go on in our lives, ways that we can process them differently, so that the body doesn't have to keep going into that stress response. So I think that that's really important as a way to feel safe in our body. So there we covered the three main reasons why stress can cause chronic pain, such as headaches and jaw pain. And they were muscular tension, which is really my world, is treating people with this muscular tension, and most of that comes from our bodies being in fight or flight. Secondly, those messages that are sent to the brain, how the brain interprets them. When we're stressed, it's different to how if we're in rest and digest. And then thirdly, just really that ability to feel safe in our body, so feeling unsafe in our environment and therefore in our body, can really lead to increased chronic pain. And if you're somebody that suffers with headaches, then likely then that will produce a headache, and things like increased clenching and grinding as well. So it really just helps to understand why that process is, so why we feel more stressed and why that might impact our health, really, because we're just talking about headaches and jaw pain here because that's what we're here for, but there are huge wider implications to our long-term health as well from chronic stress. and it's something that is really just embedded in our society and the way that we live. And it seems to be on us as individuals to really make those changes, and sometimes that might mean kind of disengaging from the activities of society that have become so normal to many of us, but actually are causing that stress response in the body. So I hope that was helpful, and do let me know if you recognise that stress can increase your symptoms. I would love to know.